it always takes.
Indian River Connections brings you the first source you can watch for truth on board decisions in Indian River County. The Board Report, where taxpayers and policymakers intersect. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite platform to get notified when we go live on Fridays at 7 p.m. Visit IndianRiverConnections.com for more. Sponsored by Gus Curran's House of Champions.
Gus
All
Curran.
right.
Is that where you work out, John? You get your workout at House of Champions?
I have been there, but I have not got my workout there. I go to my own gym lately. No, yeah. Gus,
Anyways,
yeah, it's a great time. Yeah.
Another episode of the Board Report, right? It's April 25th, 2025, and I'm sitting in for Joanne tonight. John's running the show tonight, and we have Patrice Bowes, not Bowles, but Bowes from Voices for Children of Okeechobee and the Treasure Coast. I'll get it sooner or later. She's down there yelling at me. But and then we're gonna have Jennifer Pippin from Moms for Liberty, right, giving us an update on the battle in Tallahassee, I believe, with the parental rights bills coming through. And then for the panel, I believe Thomas Kenny from the Sunshine Journal will join us, probably with some questions for Jen and maybe with some news of his own. We'll see what he's got.
I think he's got some breaking news coming out from the Sunshine Journal, so that'll be a good little segment at the end too. So stick around for that too. So it's going to be interesting to see where that breaking news is going to. But we got a lot going on here at the Board Report. Lots of stuff to report on. And again, we love to thank Gus Curran's House of Champions for sponsoring the show and keeping us able to do this and each and every week at 7:00 live, bringing everybody information about what's going on in the area and new things coming up. And like you said, Voices for Children, who also sponsors our Connecting People and Places podcast, they're going to be Teresa's going to be on to give us an update. So I'm looking forward to it. We
went and spent some time with them last week for actually during where our show would be airing. At the Home Run for Heroes or Heroes I'll screw that up too. That was pretty cool.
And that was a great time. We had
it reminded me as a kid going to Shea Stadium. So it's kind of like I was actually looking at tickets today. I was like, here we go. I don't have time for anything, but
it was a good time.
It was fun meeting them and hanging out, and there's some things in the works. So yeah. Anything else before I throw it to House of Champions?
I think that's it. Yeah, I think we're good.
All right. Well, we'll be right back with Patrice.
Tired of the same old workout? Come knock out your fitness goals at Gus Curran's House of Champions. Founded in 1996 right here in Vero Beach, Florida, our Hall of Fame trainers will push you to your limits and beyond. Whether you're a beginner or a pro, we have the perfect class for you, including the one-of-a-kind rock-steady Parkinson's training. So come join the fight and unleash the champion inside you. Give them a call, 772-713-1157, or go to gchouseofchampions.com.
Ding, ding. I love the ding, ding at the end of the ad. It brings us right up to our next segment with Patrice Bowes here from Voices for Children. How you doing, Patrice?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Good. Doing really good. Thanks for joining us.
It's been a week.
Yeah, no, we appreciate you. So give us an update on how the event went at the St. Lucie Mets.
It went phenomenal. We won't have our numbers until the end of the season, so closer to November before Met Stadium gets to kind of crunching the numbers, which is fine. They have a lot because there's something every night. But as far as our team, the feedback has been phenomenal. We had amazing time with the kids, and you guys got to hang out with us. And most people don't know it was my first baseball game ever. So what a way to have your first baseball game, kind of hanging out with some really cool people. We are so grateful for our sponsors. Huge shout out to JTC Concrete Plus Edward Jones, Two-Way Radio. There's so many of them, I can't even name them all in a hurry, but if we didn't have our sponsors, we couldn't do things like this. But now we're able to take everything that we've done and pass that on to kids. So like Pay Center, next week is their prom, their masquerade ball. They're so excited. We got a couple requests in today for a last minute prom dress for tomorrow.
Wow.
Luckily, we don't do the shopping, so it's a good thing. But yeah, it was a phenomenal experience. Huge shout out to Casey at the St. Lucie Mets for helping us to coordinate the whole thing every single year. And, you know, we're looking to bigger and better things now. So the next event's already on the books.
Yeah, no, it was a great time. We and Mike enjoyed ourselves. We got a chance to join you guys in the skybox. They let you guys sit up there. So that was great for your first game. So it was a great experience. And Mike had a great time as well. And it seems like a great fundraiser of partnering with the St. Lucie Mets and bringing awareness to what Voices for Children does and what you guys are really all about, you know, and that's your mission. That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and then of course when you can see Jeeps in the parking lot with a giant rubber ducky and they're doing Jeep Crush because Treasure Coast Jeep Club is our huge fan club, you know, and they made sure they showed up and showed out in their superhero gear. So, I mean, it was so nice to look out from the skybox. Even though I'm getting to sit there, I'm looking out at the crowd and I'm seeing all of our T-shirts and I'm seeing all the support, these people that came out for the cause. It's like, it almost gives you chills.
Yeah, no, I definitely saw that myself and really enjoyed, you know, seeing what you guys are doing. So what do you have on deck coming up now for the future for Voices for Children?
Well, right now, our biggest thing, we've got several in the works, but what is ready to hit media right now is our Bowl for a Voice Family Night and Costume Contest in October. We have a Teach a Child to Fish Day. We're putting that together. We're thinking that's going to be in July. We have May 15th. It is a Power Hour Unplugged. It's just sort of like come get to know us social at 21st Amendment. So we're going to be there from 5 to 7. If you get a ticket, great. On our Facebook page, it gives me a head count. But stop by, say hi. And I've got some surprises for some people. So we're going to do some raffles, some 50-50. It's just very chill, laid back. Grab a drink if you want. Grab some food. If you've never been there, it's a beautiful venue. And they're so gracious, they're going to host us. So we're super excited about that.
Yeah, they do a great job too. They're a great organization. That's a great partnership because you want to grow your base here in River County as well. So I mean, you guys are all over the Treasure Coast and Okeechobee. So it's it's a big area.
A lot of spreading the love.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, it's a big area. So the mission is what it's all about. What else are you? Any requests that you guys have that you can fulfill for anybody that's out there that needs any help? You know, what can they do to get in touch with you? And
yes, I am really looking for the mom and pop business that, not the corporate, but kind of that small business that maybe doesn't always be able to get the best advertising or whatever. But at the same time, I'm bridging county to county, city to city. So I have in my bowling event, I have 13 themed baskets. So reach out to me. And let me know what you want to donate into those baskets. The trick is we're not just going to silent auction them that night. These are going to be silent auctioned starting next month, all the way till October.
Okay.
So, you know, you may not know what's in them. You'll know the theme and you can say, oh, I'm just going to bid on the theme. But like we have pretty plastic mornings, couch potato cinema, kind of give you an idea what's going to be in them. But yeah, it's just everything's about having fun. We want to enrich the kids. We want to have fun. We want to bridge companies, counties, cities. We're actually getting ready to put together. I'm working right now. I'm putting together the Volunteer Training Academy, which will be an online video. So we can kind of not just have volunteers, but like the kids that come in that need hours over the summer. We're going to teach them basic graphic design. We're going to teach them basic marketing, letter writing skills, how to talk to somebody. And they'll have like a little playbook. So they help us and we help them. You know, that's where we're going.
Yeah, that's a great idea because that's the skills that kids that are having a hard time with nowadays with social media and texting and all that. They don't know how to talk to each other and speak
Yeah, we're
speak
losing that.
people in the eye, and go to an interview, and and like you said, use graphics and all that kind of stuff too. Like somebody Mike just made a comment. We need an intern, so we could use an intern at Interconnections.
Actually, I have a meeting coming up next week with Economic Development Center, and they are offering up interns.
Okay.
So I will feed you in the loop.
Yeah, that would be good. Yeah, because we could always use a little help, and Mike's always using some help with the editing and all that good stuff. We also wanted to thank Voices for Children for being the sponsor of our other podcast, Connecting People in Places podcast. So thank you for stepping up and doing that. We've been recording some local shows here and there, so we appreciate that.
Oh, we couldn't do it without you guys. That's for sure. You guys are kind of the glue right now that's holding. You're building those bridges I want to do. So it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, well, that's what the Interconnection is all about: connecting people in places. So that's what we try to do. That's our slogan. So we appreciate you giving us that opportunity to partner up with you. So that's really good. You have anything else you want to add before we move on to the next?
No,
segment?
Go to our Facebook page, go to our website, find out how to get involved, stop by the social, say hi. Just grassroots. Let's get back to basics.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Get back to basics. Let's help help each other and help the children. It's all about the children, and and every child will be heard. That's your you guys slogan. So that's
every child will be heard. Yes, we give a voice to the voiceless.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to go to a break now. Patrice, if you want to hang out, if you have time, we're going to do a segment at the end. If you want to hang out, if not, that's
I'm going to actually have to run. I'll catch you guys on the next time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time, and we'll be in touch soon.
Thank you. Have a great night.
You too.
Warrior Shield Foundation is here to unite, honor, and provide support for veterans, first responders, and Gold Star family members. The foundation will enable them to find the help they need through direct assistance or by connecting them with our shared vision network. Using data-driven models, we provide solutions that make a long-lasting difference. We, along with our partners, are dedicated to bringing together like-minded groups and individuals who have committed to making a difference in the lives of our hardworking, everyday heroes. We bridge the gap by connecting warriors or their families with the assistance they deserve and require, such as service dogs, wheelchairs, counseling, scholarships, and team-building retreats, to name a few. You can help right now to make a difference for those who have helped and protected us all. Warrior Shield Foundation, selflessly doing for those who need it most.
It's a long way to home, but you won't take the hard road all alone. Just look to your left and look to your right. You were born to fight.
Indian River Connections brings you the first source you can watch for truth on board decisions in Indian River County. The Board Report, where taxpayers and policymakers intersect. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite platform to get notified when we go live on Fridays at 7 p.m. Visit IndianRiverConnections.com for more.
Hey, John, I'm going to bring Jen up.
All right. Appreciate it.
That was a great little update from Patrice. Hi, Jen.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Good.
How you doing?
Real quick, and we just played that Warrior Shield Foundation commercial. We will be there on Warrior Shield weekend, September 5th and 6th. At least a handful of us to do a podcast, either beside or with Dale and Jim from Two Guys in One Coop, who have built like an amazing relationship with that foundation and turned us onto it. So we're proud to support them and play their promotion. So I'll be there definitely for that concert, which has got like Bo Bice,
so awesome.
I think Ryan Weaver, Natasha Owens. There's a couple other ones. I'll screw up their names. So anyways, to the important stuff. What's going on, Jen? I thought we figured this out a year ago when it came to parental rights. So what's going on now in a Republican-controlled Florida state Congress?
Yeah, so a lot of bills still going through. We're in the middle of session. So I know last time we spoke, we were talking about bills that were coming through. So the flag bill died. So the one that said, no other flags other than the United States flag in schools, government buildings, that died. It didn't make it through committee. So unfortunately, those flags are still allowed in our schools and government entities. So I'm talking trans flags, LGBTQ flags, Antifa flags, BLM flags, anything like that still unfortunately allowed government entities in schools. That was a big one, that we were trying to advocate for with Moms for Liberty and so many parental rights organizations across the state. So this is the second time it's failed. So again, just not enough backbone to be able to pull the trigger and say, listen, this is not appropriate, for children or, county commissions or anything like that. Let's just have the United States.
What is the argument against it?
So they say, well, it represents other people. And, what if we want to have the Florida flag, or what if we have somebody visiting and they want to have a flag? So it just gets into the weeds, and that's not what this bill was, designed for. But again, that allows all of the other, indoctrination and other things to be able to come about. So unfortunately, it didn't pass again.
Will we see that one reworded and back for another go next session, or how
it could be? Yeah, it could be. They absolutely could rework it and, have some other sponsors or co-sponsors that may be able to push it through. But with the second time failing, sometimes third time's a charm, just like the original parental rights law. It took many, many years and much conversation and compromise and, having these hard conversations, during COVID and things like that. And, Aaron Grawl, who made it happen with Patty Sullivan, just having those hard conversations and actually, having situations come to light to make this bill pass in 2021 when it was.
So you mentioned two important names there. I've seen I know of Aaron Grawl, I voted for her, but Patty Sullivan, I see her on social media and I see she's a big advocate for parental rights. Can you tell our audience who Patty Sullivan is?
Sure. One of my favorite people. So Patty Sullivan was actually the first person that approached Aaron Grawl with just one line that said parental rights are fundamental rights. And Aaron Grawl took that and made it into an amazing law. And again, went through 3 sessions with Patty and so many other, parentalrights.org members and passed this. So Patty is literally the pioneer of parental rights and making the parental rights law here in Florida. So she's advocating actually currently in Tallahassee. She flies back today. She's been at almost all the meetings and sessions with Aaron Grawl to, strengthen these parental rights laws of the violations that we've seen, or like the little loopholes we've seen over the past couple of years. So like the parental rights law that's going through now is House Bill 1505 and Senate Bill 1226. So people who don't know, there's a House side, there's a Senate side, has to pass on the House, has to pass on the Senate, and then the governor can sign it or veto it. So that's how a law is made. It is currently going through the process. But the big thing that's making changes with this law from what we have now. So you guys may not even know, with having children, if a 13 to 17-year-old goes to have a counseling session right now in current law, they do not have to have parental consent or knowledge for the first 2 visits. That's currently in law. So what this law is going to do is take that out and say, listen, it needs to be with parental consent. It needs to be with parental knowledge. Not a lot of people know that. It's a loophole that's been getting through in the mental health aspect. This law will also have to have an opt-in for surveys. So instead of having an opt-out and that paperwork never comes home, it's an opt-in. So you, Mike, and John and myself would have to sign and say, yes, our student can take the Department of Health survey or something like that.
So just like we saw with the books, where I had to go in there and opt out of all these stupid titles, it's more or less now I'll have to go in there and say, okay, make these things available, but not the books.
Right. Exactly. It'll be mainly surveys. So a couple years back, we had surveys asking children as young as 10 years old, have they had anal sex? Have they been drinking and doing drugs before having sex? And all of this. And this was out parental consent or knowledge. It was just random children picked from ages 10 to 17. And it was put through the Department of Health during COVID. And one of our students in Indian River came home and asking their mom all these weird questions. And that's how we found the surveys in there. So since then, when we challenged that, they no longer do that specific survey, but surveys like that without all the inflammatory language are still coming to our schools.
That's crazy.
Crazy. Wow.
So before we get too far from Patty Sullivan, what's her organization again?
parentalrights.org. So there's Parental Rights Florida. It's on the national, but she is the chairman for the state of Florida, the president for Florida. And they do a lot with legislation. They do a lot with training, huge organization. And of course, partners with Moms for Liberty, Moms for America, Citizens Defending Freedom, all of these parental rights and, freedom. I mean, the medical community has come out big time with this parental rights law, knowing that, these counselors can get these, young teenagers without parental consent and counsel them, and the parents may not ever know. So we have a lot of healthcare professionals and the medical field really stepping up and saying, listen, this is an issue. And now with all of the mental health issues and things that are, now that we're, long-term COVID side effects, these children need to be with a parent, or the parent at least needs to know who they're seeing and who they're talking to and have that consent.
For sure. And, I'm reminded of what Sheila Matthews works towards, the informed consent. And it's like, therapy, I believe, is the same. If it's prescribed like a medication, or if they can even prescribe a medication, I think the parents should have informed consent as to what their minor child is doing. If I'm going to be responsible for the child, you're going to hold me responsible anyways. Why am I not responsible then? Why take that? So I didn't mean to cut you off. Is that the only bill they're working on?
So that's the biggest parental rights one now that they're making the change from the original bill in 2021. There's also some verbiage with, DCF being able to do investigations and things like that, and kind of tightening up that language. Because right now, anybody could be watching this podcast right now and call DCF on all of us and say that we're abusing children, right? And DCF would have to come out and do their investigation and, take a look into that. So some of the verbiage that DCF could remove children from the home, that's being tightened up a little bit in this law as well, which is huge.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, DCF is like a controversial department to begin with. I'm sure there's a good side, but there's a lot of controversy as to its dark side, and you definitely don't want them involved unless they need to be. Right. I'm sure there's a benefit for some people, but scary. Just like you said, it's so easy for somebody to screw with your life like that. And we've seen it with PPN, not DCF, but the swatting. A few of our personalities were swatted over the last week. And, that's life ruining stuff. You might come out of it unharmed, but the traumatic, just going through the paperwork, whether it's DCF or being woken up at 12 midnight by the sheriff's department kicking your door in, those things are meant to take you down, either emotionally, morally, or, in the swatting case, that's attempted murder. And they go after people for that. And I think they should do the same when it comes to false, maybe some complaints are made with good intention, but, there's incidences, custody battles, just whether it's from parents to adult children or separated adults, and false accusations made like that could ruin somebody.
Right. Absolutely. Well, and there's court mandated reporters. So, you got your teachers, your counselors, things like that. If they see abuse, they're seeing bruises, bloody lips, broken noses, they are court mandated reporters and they have to report that. Right. So there is those instances where, parents or guardians are not taking care of their children or not having the best interest for it. But for the most part, especially here in Indian River County, parents have the fundamental rights over their children. And just because you don't agree with a podcast, or you don't agree with their religion, or you don't agree with the organization that they're involved with, doesn't mean that you have the right to call DCF on them and report abuse, right? So again, one of those just little loopholes to, put a couple more stipulations in place to make sure that, children aren't being removed from homes that, don't have the circumstances to do so.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Due process.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
We hear a lot in the news right now.
Yeah, right. We had a comment from one of our contributors, George Cologne. He was saying Governor DeSantis passed an update through legislation on mental health recovery services and holding others accountable. So that's a positive, because like you said earlier, Jennifer, about the mental health, that was one thing that my biggest concern, as being involved in the board at school board and things of that nature, was the mental health of the children. We were going to have to do a cleanup. I remember telling you that, like, this is just the beginning. The cleanup's going to have to come around. We're going to have a mental health crisis on our hands now because of what's happened for these last 3.5, 4 years of just stress and COVID. I call it COVID stress disorder. And then you have the psychological trauma from the children, have to take that into the future, because everything that happened during those years, you imagine if you have, like, you guys have younger children than mine, my son was older, but at the same time, if you had a 4-year-old that started in COVID and had to deal with masks for 2 years, by the time that child's 6, 7 years old, that's a major, major development scenario for a child to be able to have to go through that stress during that time. And that's what we're seeing, the impacts of it.
That's right. Well, and we told them time and time again, listen, social distancing these children, masking these children, and, the CDC quietly pushing back the delays, and, where children are crawling and speaking and, doing all these things. They pushed it back during COVID, and so many people were worried about, the next vaccination and, when these schools were going to be opened back up. They were just moving the thresholds back. And, we told them every meeting. I mean, I remember John would stand up there and say, listen, we're harming children. Dr. Mark McCain, before he passed, got up there and said, listen, I'm more worried about the COVID protocols than children dying in my practice. I've written more prescriptions for mental health cases during COVID than I've treated children with COVID. He stopped doing COVID tests because they were getting falsified through the Department of Health. I mean, all of this is available during public record. He said it publicly, and it just fell on deaf ears. So, for 5 years now, John, we said, listen, this is an issue. And, now we see the steady decline of what's going on in our school system with enrollment. And we can only say, we told you so. It was COVID, it was the LGBTQ administration guide, it was the books in the school. So all of these culture wars, or, issues that, the fake media says, these are reasons why parents are pulling their children out of public schools.
No, 100%. And we saw it coming, so, I mean, now it's, we not even told you so. It's now we have to clean it up. So how are you going to help us clean it up? We need help. We need legislation passed. We need, like George said, to start focusing on mental health. Go ahead, Mike.
Right.
So, I mean, I was going to shift towards our neighbors to the north. I see in the news quite a bit in Central Florida, a lot of noise being made in Brevard County. A lot of it due to the teacher Calhoun, who went against state law and parental preference and broke the law. Can you tell us a little bit more? I think we talked about her last week, but can you tell us what's going on in Brevard County and what's this whole situation with this teacher?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, that could be a 5-hour segment all in itself, but the Cliff Notes version is, yes, Moms for Liberty advocated, along with many other parental rights organizations, again, Parental Rights Florida, Moms for America, to have a law that stipulates that you can only call a child or teacher by their biological sex, by their biological name, unless the parent or guardian signs a permission slip. And no, it's not because you're calling Jonathan John or because you're calling Michael Mike. It is for, the transgender ideology and dysphoria that's getting pushed on our minor children. So the Brevard teacher had a 17-year-old student who is a female, and she was calling this female male pronouns and a male name. without parental consent. So the parent never signed a permission slip, did not know that this was going on. And it went through due process. We talk about due process. So there was an investigation through the school, and the teacher knowingly admitted that she broke the law. She knew. It wasn't she didn't know. She was given a warning. She knew. So she knowingly broke the law. And it kind of escalated because the news got hold of it. Some liberals got a hold of it and said they're not looking out for the transgender children. These children are going to commit suicide, so on and so forth. So it mushroomed into this big thing. And the teacher is still working today, gentlemen. She's still working today. She was non-renewed. So it's not like she was fired. She was non-renewed. She cannot continue working for Brevard County Schools starting after May. So she can't work summer school and after that. The parent to this point did not press charges. So literally all this teacher has to do is go somewhere else and gain employment. Wow. And not break the law again. And that's what this law was intended for. And she did exactly what happened with the January Littlejohn case in the Panhandle and so many other cases across the country where that teacher knowingly broke the law and took the parents' rights to be able to raise their daughter to, their beliefs and their values and call her by her biological sex.
Yeah. Now, that's not the only crazy crap going on in Brevard County. We saw the other, I'm confused with the whole house party thing. Mm-hmm. Do you know anything about that?
Yes. So there was a teacher and a principal who hosted a house party, and they were giving students, underage students, obviously under 21, and nobody can have drugs. It was marijuana and alcohol to minor children that went to their schools. And I believe that there was an arrest made, or they were looking into it, but they didn't terminate the teacher and the principal at that time. I think since then they have. But it was a big controversy because when this whole thing happened with this teacher, everybody was saying, well, how come the other people weren't fired? When in fact, this teacher is, again, still working. She's still in the classroom. She's still in the classroom today. So again, they were just trying to kind of mush it all together. And, our stance on it with Moms for Liberty is, listen, if you break the law and you're providing, minor children with drugs and alcohol under 21, that's illegal. You are breaking the law, and law enforcement needs to handle that. But again, they were kind of, putting all three of the incidents together with the principal and the two teachers, and trying to, put them together. So to my knowledge, this is still under investigation, and the school board is going to decide what's going to happen. But they're waiting for all the facts, and they got the body cam footage, I believe, last week from the arrest. So they're going to take that into consideration, and I'm sure that'll be on their next agenda.
How do you think our superintendent, Dr. Moore, and our board would handle this? I know it's hard to say, but knowing our, trend, how would we handle this?
Yeah. So great question. I honestly think that if parents, grandparents, and community members showed up and said, listen, we need to follow the law. Teachers aren't above the law. Principals aren't above the law. Administration's not above the law. And not, sugarcoat what happened or the age of the student or anything like that. I would hope that they would follow the law and terminate the teacher. And I would hope that the parent, if it did happen in our community, I would absolutely help them take legal action on the teacher that violated their parental rights.
Right. We're not coming up against any critical elections in the next 2 years, are we?
So with school board, we're going to have 3 seats open in 2026. So District 2, which is currently held by Jacqueline Rosario, District 4, which is currently held by Terry Berenborg, and District 1, which is currently held by Jean Posca. And then, of course, higher up, looking at governor and things like that, that'll all be in 2026. County commission, city councils, things like that.
Of course, I think the most critical are the school board, especially Jackie and Dr. Posca's spots. How do you feel about, I know it's early, but how do you feel going in, looking ahead at those elections? How do you feel will turn out?
Sure. So we're going to work just as hard as we have in the past elections. We're going to bring everybody together and advocate for parental rights and the issues at hand, and make sure the best people are in our seat, and they're elected by, the parents, grandparents, and community members who, want a better future for our future leaders and our children that we have currently in the district. And, with a declining school system, I'm hoping that more people will get involved, or people who have pulled their children from, public school and they're going to private school or homeschool now. Hopefully they'll vote with their feet and, want the best for, all the other children who are still in public schools, or want better, public schools. Your kids and my kids go to public schools, have the best education, and, just keep going in a positive direction with, these classical schools and the K-8s, and, really listening to parents and grandparents and community members to make education better. Because we know you can always make something better, whether it's education or a relationship or work. So we just need to continue to do that, even when things kind of status quo right now in our, quiet little county. But, it could be, that the next culture war could happen, next week or next month. And we just need to stay on top of it and just make sure everybody knows the issues.
Keep your head on a swivel, be awake and aware, and just, pay attention to what's going on, because at any moment things could shift and you could be like, oh, here we go, selective outrage, and here we go again. What's this new topic that's coming up? I wanted to go back to, you mentioned Jackie Rosario, and what is the story going on with that call to action that I saw today?
Sure. So on the board agenda, it's 9E on Monday. They are voting for a new work group representative for the desegregation order with the NAACP versus the School District of Indian River County, which is costing us taxpayers $105,000 to $150,000 a year, 60 years running. Jackie Rosario was supposed to serve on this committee until November of 2025. And the first thing that David Dyer did when he got elected was he wanted her resolution removed, which only has her in this committee position until this month. And they're going to vote as a board to either appoint her, hopefully, and let her continue her work, because she's only been in that role for a year, or, get somebody else on there to, be the board representative against the NAACP.
Okay. So what do we need to do as far as, people coming out, speaking up about this, to voice their opinion on whether they think that's the right thing to do or not? Is that what we need to do?
Absolutely. Yes. So we have a call to action out, just asking to reinstate Jackie Rosario. The previous board member that was on there was on for 3 years. They were supposed to meet every month. With Jackie's term, they've only met 5 times against the judge's orders. So she wants to be able to continue that work and be allotted more time to, go further with the desegregation order. And she's just been really doing well. She's been working well with the lawyers. She's been bringing in district staff to meet with the NAACP and answer their questions. Dr. Shafty is brilliant. She's the one that's bringing all the data to the work group, and everybody has just been working so well. They're about to reach unitary status on transportation, because we know all students are allotted transportation. It's not based on race, right? All students get to ride the bus to school, or, to sports or activities and things like that. It's not, segregated. So we're about to, reach unitary status on that with all of, again, the data that the districts, showed, and it's been absolutely amazing. So we would like to have her stay on there and continue the good work she's doing.
Yeah, 100%.
Are they just looking at the student data, or are they looking at the bus drivers, the mechanics, along with the teachers and the maintenance guys?
Right.
The desegregation order is across the board, district-wide, student and employee, right?
Correct. That is correct. So they kind of got into the weeds at the meeting last night. There was only 2 of us watching, and both of us were kind of texting back and forth and kind of putting our 2 cents in. So they even got into the weeds of, what if an African-American parent didn't have a car that could drive them to the bus stop or drive them to school if the school was less than 2 miles away? Well, that happens with all families, whether you're biracial, Caucasian, Indian, African American. If you don't have a car, and you're less than 2 miles away, you have to get your child to school, right?
Yeah.
They were talking about, having to drive further, and they were literally getting into the weeds. So if you want to see some, and they gave a laundry list of these requests towards the end of the meeting that had nothing to do with the desegregation order and the 2018 plan, joint plan that they agreed on. It had nothing to do with segregation or race. It literally, they were talking about bus stops and how long children had to wait at certain bus stops, how long they had to wait on the bus for. And again, gentlemen, we're looking at this with a wide lens. They're not going to keep Black children on the bus for longer than they're going to keep white children, that they're going to keep biracial children. Everybody's on the bus for the same amount of time or less if their stops are closer, or they're waiting at the bus stop for the same amount of time. So again, they were just getting into the weeds and worried about the African American children who may have had to wait at the bus stops. Or
so tell me this though. So what is it they're looking for? Is it they're looking for exceptions for this one group of people only, or are they just trying to keep their organization relevant and this court order in continuance so they can keep milking it out for the $150,000 a year this is costing our district?
Right.
So is it something they want? What do they want out of this?
Their only concern is the African American students. That they've said it time and time again. It's in the name of their organization, Mike. Okay, they're looking for the advancement of colored people. It's literally in the name. So again, everything that they're asking and bringing up in this desegregation order is based on race. And again, everybody's afforded transportation. They don't say, "Oh, well, you're Black, you can't get on. You're white, you can't get on," or "You're Black, we're gonna make a loop around and come back and pick you up and then take you to school," or "We're gonna keep you longer on the bus because you're Black or because you're white or because you're biracial." I mean, this transportation's been going on since the dawn of time. And with our school district, Dr. Moore was so brilliant and said, listen, we don't have to provide transportation to, a football game or after school activities. This is all in addition to, right. So for that parent that maybe doesn't have transportation, right? Because of course, some people don't have transportation or their transportation is down. They could still go to that football game at another school or a volleyball game or stay after school and have transportation. So not only has the district gone above and beyond, but it's for all students, not just the white students.
I was shocked that if I want my son to go to a school on the other side of the county, if the bus doesn't come here within a certain amount of mileage, they'll pick them up at a GO line bus stop. If that's the route we decide. They've gone, like you said, above and beyond the extra mile to make sure these kids can get to school, other than going to the house and taking them, making them brush their teeth and get in the car, But how much more can you do, or how many more exceptions can you make? During any of these meetings, this might be a touchy subject, but does the disciplinary process or policy ever come into question? Because as far as I know, that's the only thing that's not desegregated is the way we punish our kids or decide who gets discipline and who doesn't.
You're exactly correct. So let's say two students fight on a bus. Perfect example. Two students fight on a bus, a white student and a Black student. They get into a fight. It's on the cameras. The bus driver reports it. The Black student gets punished at the district level, and the white student would get punished at the school that the bus driver was dropping them off at, because of the desegregation order. That Black student may or may not get in trouble, or may not get suspended or have detention. So perfect example. I'm glad you bring that up. But no, you never hear the lawyers talk about that or the work group talk about that. They just get into the weeds of, they were even talking about, well, what if a Black student in Fellsmere wanted to go to Vero Beach High School in their zone for Sebastian? Would they have transportation? And Dr. Moore literally said, yes, all students will have transportation if they're able to go to their school choice and have transportation to that school. But if it's less than 2 miles, the parent would have to either walk with their student or bike with their student or walk with their student, and would not be provided transportation under 2 miles.
Wow. So I usually ask you in the panel, what's your grade for our district this week, for our superintendent and for our district?
Yeah. After seeing the hoopla in Brevard and some other things going on with the legislation in Tallahassee, I'd still say a B. I don't think it's perfect yet. After hearing
we
this,
had a headline coming.
Yeah.
I thought we had a headline on the Sunshine Journal. Jennifer Pippin gives Dr. Moore an A.
Yes.
Close,
Hey, that's
maybe a
okay.
B plus.
I think Dr. Moore's doing great with the desegregation order, to be honest with you. He's trying to close out, they have different bullet points that they need done. So like transportation, renewing teachers, things like that. So they're going to mediation for the teacher renewal and retention. And they're about to close out this transportation. So Dr. Moore's been putting his foot down with this. So I give him an A for the desegregation order.
He needs to save some money, so that's what makes sense. Like he's got to make up for the loss of students or anything else. He's like, well, I can save some money here if I can put this to bed. So it makes kind of sense if you look at it. Let me ask you this real quick before we go break up. We got the breaking news in the green room, but what do you think now with this meeting coming up next with the Jackie Rosario scenario? Are you going to see some selective outrage come showing up to this scenario? If you could predict the future, what do you predict for the next school board meeting? Is this going to be a big subject that people are going to want to talk about?
I don't think so, honestly, because I feel like two of the school board members on the opposing side have their views, and whatever anybody says or emails, they could get 500 emails and have 100 people show up. They're going to dig their feet in. And then I think that there's two that want, Jackie to continue the work. And I think that we have one that may be on the fence. And so we'll see. I mean, hopefully they listen to their constituents and they see the emails coming in and the reasons why they want Jackie to stay. They hear the voices at public comment and listen to their constituents, and not, the ones that, voted for them and, their voting demographics before, their election.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. All right. Can't hear you.
Any events coming up for Moms for Liberty?
We have our normal meeting, the third Thursday of every month coming up. We do have a family fun night coming up. We're going to partner with a couple other organizations to get that done in July. So, during the summer. And other than that, since we're coming into testing and graduation, it's pretty quiet with Moms for Liberty. We're just finishing out this legislative session, and hopefully, knock on wood, it stays pretty quiet for the next couple of months, and just get, these policies and procedures and rocking and rolling at the end of the school year, getting into the next school year.
Awesome. John, do you want to take it to our newest intern, and then we'll come back to a panel with Thomas Kenny?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. I want to get that message out.
We wanted to introduce our audience to Lanka. It's kind of more like a joke, but we'll be right back with Thomas Kenny and Jennifer Pippin.
I'm Lenka, the newest addition to Indian River Connections. I'm here to help the partners explain what we can offer to your business or organization. Indian River Connections offers ad space on our direct mail campaigns that reach approximately 10,000 households each mailing, and with multiple campaigns available to target specific communities. We also offer ad space and sponsorships to 5 different podcasts at the moment. From local shows like The Board Report and the Connecting People and Places podcast, to national audiences from Binford Chronicles, TGI Now podcast, and syndicated to The Point podcast. That's not all we do, though. We offer unique ways to promote your business or product. So stay tuned for some great partnerships and productions coming from the team at Indian River Connections, and hopefully we can partner with you too. Is it off? I think it's off. I nailed it. I was so dang nervous. Hopefully Mike likes it. He can be a prick about these things.
Oh, let me bring up.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
I'm sorry, that was awesome. Her doing the selfie at the end, I totally saw my kids. I'm like, oh my gosh, that is a teen thing to do.
Sometimes we have
Mike, you're such a nice guy. Come on.
I know. And that's funny.
Sometimes we have too much time on our hands. Not all.
Just a little.
We're trying to make it fun.
That's awesome.
Like Thomas got your hat there. I like that. Looks good.
It came out okay.
I like it. Yeah.
Well, we'll see. Trying to find a way to make this all a bunch of fun. How are you guys doing?
Doing great. Doing great. So
we're good. Glad to have you. I don't know if you had any questions for Jen with this parental rights thing going on. I do know you have a little bit of good news, correct? Or
Yeah, I mean, for Jennifer in the desegregation order, that was an interesting thing yesterday because their lawyer, the NAACP, had sent a request email in for like 10 things they wanted. It was 12, I think, right, Jennifer?
Yes, 12.
12, and it was ridiculous. If you go back and you listen to like the last 10 minutes of the meeting, she's trying to get Dr. Shafty to read them into the record. And the big thing here is she's saying, did you guys look at this stuff? And Dr. Shafty said, yes, I sat down with Miss Idolette and her, and we went through all your questions, and we don't keep this type of data that you're asking for. One of the questions was about the equity of bus stops.
Yep.
Think about that. This is like getting ridiculous. And, there's a reason they're going after 3 meetings and 2 discussion meetings that followed. The 5 meetings that Jackie Rosario has been in attendance. This one that just happened was the 6th. But 5 of them were spent on teacher mentoring. 3 of them spent with Dr. Shafty, who heads the program, supplying all this wonderful data and then questions and answers. And they still saying the information is lacking. Miss Idolette's family is, I believe their name, and I have to go back and verify this, but I believe their name, when you see the case, Sharpton et al., they're under the et al.
Yeah. And she's the one that's in charge of transportation. So her family literally started this case, and now she's in charge of transportation currently for the school district. Yeah.
A family member, when you go into the Joseph Idolette Center to give your public comment, they have such a great history in this school system and education and everything else, and just doing great work. And these people are coming against it. Mm-hmm. It baffles me to no end.
Yeah, and Thomas, Miss Idolette even said, we are totally in unitary status with transportation. As an African-American woman in charge of the department, said multiple times that, listen, we are in unitary status for this. We are following all the requirements. We are going above and beyond, I think is the terminology that was used on this, specific.
And why wouldn't they be? Because her family has such a connection that's what they would hopefully want to see, right? Mm-hmm. And yet the NAACP over here they're trying to separate Miss Idolette from the issue. If you watch the meeting, they're going, well, we love her, but we think she's hamstrung. This lady does great work. And she's gone out of her way to show all of the transportation system. They're worried about demographics. She's like, well, we take care of all students. We never have a crowded bus. Why don't they have a crowded bus these days? Well, enrollment's been going down. I mean, this is pure common sense logic, and people are saying no. Instead, their lawyers are in there, and their attorneys are going, can you explain the equity? How do you measure the equity data of a bus stop?
wanting to log
it's irritating.
They were wanting to log phone calls of parents who wanted choice schools that were asking for transportation for their students. Why do we need to log that? They call, say, hey, I live in Fellsmere. I want to go to Vero Beach High School. Hey, I live in South Vero. I want to go to Sebastian River High School. That doesn't have to be logged. They're not asking, well, do you have a black student or do you have a white student? They're saying, listen, we have choice school. Let's get your child there. And they're wanting to see these logs.
It's crazy the money we're wasting on this. Just the time alone. Dr. Moore makes a lot of money. To be sitting through meetings, I think, is just a waste of time that should have already been squashed a long time ago.
Well, this is court ordered, so here we are. And, everyone's around, this is the most unique desegregation order case ever. No, it's not. It's a cluster bomb.
Yeah.
It's just awful. This should not, the plaintiff and defendant should not be sitting across from each other trying to determine what law is.
Right.
And how the school system should follow it. The judge should be doing that.
Right. Yeah. These two shouldn't be picking where their middle is because they're never going to agree on it.
Right.
No, you got a lawyer who's asking me about equity of bus stops. You're never going to agree.
Right.
No, and you had nailed it on just again. And in the past, we talked about this where the judge just doesn't have the courage to make a decision, to make a judgment and shut it down.
The judge is isolated from making a decision because they have this contractual joint action plan with the 9 points. So the judge is totally isolated.
But we're only there because they couldn't make the decision the first time.
No, because they changed the whole dynamic of the case and did this. It started with the 94 joint plan. And, that was going on for a little while. By 1999, what is it? 1999, right, Jen? The judge died and nobody knew.
That's right.
And
it didn't resurface until critical race theory started coming out.
Yeah.
Yep.
2000, I believe it was 2003. I believe 4 years after the judge dies, the federal courts shut the case down. And then someone pulled out all the paperwork, Susan DeGressa, the attorney at the time, with Rendell. And they said, hey, we need to go get our unitary status. No one's doing with this. 22 years later in 2016. Think about this. Yeah. The feds had shut the case down and the judge died and nobody knew.
Yeah.
This is disgusting.
Yeah. And we've said before, the only thing that's segregated in our schools is the discipline plan. And there is still an African-American student council and a regular student council at our middle schools and our high schools. Yeah. So the only segregation is discipline of African-American students at the district level and an African-American student council that doesn't allow any other races except for African-Americans at both high schools and the middle schools.
Now, yeah, it's in the achievement plan for the what is that, the school achievement thing. So in 22, when I ran for school board, I ran on this point that the way they did disciplinary policy, and it says it was like 4-to-1 ratio currently for white kids versus black kids get in trouble, and they wanted to bring the ratios 1-to-1. So in order to do that, what do you have to do? You have to discipline differently. That's the only way you're going to close your ratios, or you have to loosen your control over the students. One way or the other, you got to get there. And so they're trying to get there. And Dr. Morey says, "Well, the state wants this." Who cares? Who cares what the state wants? If you just get a disciplined school and stop trying to do this stuff. So that's why things are done at the district level, because they're trying to, curve those numbers. And so the paperwork gets filed differently.
It shouldn't. I don't even think there should be a color option on any of your paperwork, let alone when you go to the sheriff.
Moral option.
Yeah, well, right. I mean, even the sheriff's department. Have you noticed when you look at a mugshot, it'll say non-Hispanic, white, or non-Hispanic? Like, it's just the way we categorize, stereotype, or segregate, however you want to call it. I think it's kind of ridiculous.
And part of that is just general police work for the purposes of identifying individuals. So it carries over to the mugshots and all those different things.
Yeah, I get it. But I mean, as far as I'm not sending my kid to school. I'm sending my kid to school, not prison. So I mean, they shouldn't be looking at any of that. I mean, keep an eye out for MS-13 tattoos on my teacher's knuckles and stuff like that. But I mean, the kids the kids don't need. I don't think that needs to be a factor.
Right.
No.
So when is it over? Any predictions?
We hear December every single year. Every single year Thomas asks, it's always December. We've heard that for 2 or 3 years now, Thomas. So
the first time I asked, it was, it'll be done by December this year. That was 3 years ago.
when you ran,
Right. When it was the year I ran. So that was 22. It was the beginning of 22.
Yeah.
Yeah, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
You got anything else, Thomas?
I just posted a story about our victory in court, and we had a case with David Dyer's former campaign manager over the summer, who helped him get his seat on the school board. Jeff Andros had sued us for defamation, and the judge ruled in our favor. So we were really excited about that. The judge made two important points regarding free speech. And what really made me feel good was the only evidence she said that she had to look at, because we actually submitted an affidavit for other evidence. And she over a technicality, she didn't admit it, but whatever. But she goes, I don't need it anyway. I have the article itself. And I thought, well, that's really cool, because that means what we did as what I did as an as a reporter and as a journalist, held fast on a legal, ethical, and moral stance. I had no intention to harm anyone. I mean, they won after all. His obviously his stuff works. As a manager, he managed well. He got paid well too. So, whatever. But here we are, and I'm just happy that it's almost concluded. So, there's still some things that have to happen, but the judge was very thorough in her decision. And in that article, for anyone who wants to read it, at the very bottom is a link to the decision on Scribd, so you can read the whole order for final summary judgment. They amended their complaint. They had an opportunity to do that. And then when they did, we said, hey, there's nothing new here, so let's go for final summary judgment. And we won.
So that was local. You didn't have to travel for this?
No, and these days it's all on Zoom too.
Oh,
but I do not like it all.
Yeah.
I'd rather be in the courtroom.
Yeah, I mean, it is great. It kind of puts some I'm going to say it wrong. Validation behind what you do and what we do, because we're not just pretenders. You do media, you're putting out news, and it's unfiltered, unlike the other local news you might find around here. So it's good to know that, your article helped you out there.
Everything is a factual basis, and that's what the judge said. It's like, look, there's no factual basis here for their complaint. So when there's no factual basis that it's defamation, what she's saying from the article and the way it's written, it says that he presented facts, and the things that they had questions over were just opinion based on a series of facts, like a conclusion. And that's protected speech, especially in a public controversy. In this case being the election of the school board members. So, which he managed. And he was one of the things that they tried to do. Said, well, he's a private citizen, but no, he's a public figure. And the judge agreed with that as well. And so a public figure has a higher burden of proof when it comes to defamation, because obviously you're talking about things in the election, the public controversy.
So being a campaign manager makes him
a public figure
in the public. Yeah. Just like
he also ran for office. He ran for
office before too. Yeah, exactly.
In 2020, right. He sits on CSAC board. He sits on the MPO board for the school district. So, all of these things are public facing. When you're serving on committees that make decisions for taxpayers, or if you're running for office, right, you're a public figure.
That's why it's called Taxpayers and Policymakers Intersect on the board report. That's exactly what we're doing. So,
congratulations on that. I guess it's a victory for both. Mainly you. Win, yeah. So let me ask you, switching gears, but still staying in that same sector. How, in the media today, how much do you think this plays when it comes to lawsuits against people in the media, how much of that do you think is frivolous to keep them bogged down, tied up, expensed out,
Stressed out.
or intimidated and stressed out? I mean, maybe this wasn't that, but I mean, polarization in America today, do you think that's the thing out there we need to be worried about?
Always. You have to, part of being a journalist is you have your fact patterns developed. You write the story based on those fact patterns and those facts that emerge in your research. And if you don't do that, you leave yourself open up to a potential liability, depending on how you play that out. And so that's important. Judge Cox in Indian River County here, God bless her, she recognizes the free speech rights of journalists and the press and the media around here. And she recognizes the importance of that. Okay. And that's significant. But in today's thing, what you're saying here is there's a lot of vitriol back and forth, is what you're getting at. When you're a journalist, you better understand what you're saying. Just getting online and start ripping people for no reason is going to get you in trouble. And we didn't do that here. So,
Mike, can you pull up the article again real quick? I wanted to look at something. There was something that caught my attention as well in the picture at the comment at the bottom of the picture there. Go up a little bit. Scroll up.
From not that one, right?
At the bottom of the picture. No, keep going up. Go back up.
All the way. Keep going. No, the other direction.
Oh, the other direction.
Go down to the discussion threads.
Discussion right here, right there. No.
A little more.
There are no comments on this art. You mean on this article
there? Right there below the picture, right there. We're lemon lines.
This is from mailers of misdirection. Why is
okay? So during the time, this is what's interesting. I put this in here. Before I was served the lawsuit by the deputy, the sheriff serves your lawsuits. Lemon Lines was trolling my pages. Obviously, it was during the election season, and so on the 8th, he had put something out that I was being sued. I had no idea. And then on the 13th, I was served on the 15th. On the 13th, this comment came on one of my, you guys seen how I post. I write the story. I put the picture up with the link to it. And you can go click on the link, and the picture's supposed to grab your attention. So he put that on there that I was getting sued for 50 grand. And I was like, what? Because I'm just doing my thing. We got a pre-suit letter at that time already. We didn't know if they were going to follow through on it or not. I had written my clarification.
So he knew before you got served?
Yep.
Yeah. Now it becomes public record. So I don't know how he figured that out, or maybe he was told. I don't know. Yeah. And I'm not going to claim to know that.
Yeah.
I make that very clear.
But it's funny that he made the comment, though. He had to put it out there. He kind of
and I'll just say this because I have trolled him in the past. If anybody has known me, I'm not saying
we all have.
Blocked us. We can't even respond.
We're all blocked now.
But I will say this: 36 weeks later, here I did respond to that comment.
Yeah.
Bingo.
Yeah. This is the guy who's been broadcasted live expressing his desire to keep filthy books in school libraries. This is a guy who was on podcasts with yours truly up there, Jennifer Pippin.
Jennifer remembers well, don't you?
In favor
professionals.
Yeah. This guy is in favor of child grooming. It's not an allegation. He admitted it on air. But he's threatening you or wishing you not to be sued like your other article. So this
well, he's saying I was a sloppy reporter, and the judge actually said the only thing I have to use to make my decision is his article.
Right. I wonder.
There you go.
Maybe I'll email that to Russ Lemon.
There you go. He has us all blocked, so we can't comment. We can't see his
mail him the judge's decision.
Yeah.
He can still comment on my page. He hasn't blocked my page. And so, my page commented to his page. But I've been blocked, and Jennifer has been blocked by Vero News, we've been blocked by Russ Lemon at Lemon
Oh,
Line.
you're blocked by Vero News now? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so
Yep, right before the election.
Yeah, we all got blocked and whatever.
Yep.
Well, I feel left out. Maybe I need to turn it up a little bit.
Kick it up a notch, Bolak.
They hate when we share the facts. I mean, I'll share, before the election, I would share a screenshot, or I would share an interview, or I would, clip something, and they'd erase it and block you. I mean, as soon as they posted something, they would, block us. And they did the same thing in 2022 as well. They blocked us, and then they unblocked us for a little bit, and then they blocked us again. And so we're blocked now, so we cannot respond or see anything that they're posting at all. The only way I can see Vero News now is if I go on regular internet, because my personal page is blocked. Moms for Liberty pages are blocked. We have zero access to see Lemon Lines, Vero News. Larry Reisman won't let me do editorials or letter to the editor. Thomas Hardy won't let me do editorials or letters to the editor. So all of the liberal media will not even allow us to, put out anything. And if anybody else was to post something, they would absolutely allow them to do it. They've allowed Mara Schiff, they've allowed, other people, but they will not allow us to post anything.
Guys, I want to give a shout out to my lawyer, a very honorable human being, Keith Jackman, for doing what he's been doing. He's just a great guy. Jackman PA is a private attorney here in town and just a wonderful human being.
That's good to know. While I was lurking, they're reporting something about Vero Classical Schools eyeing property at 58th and Oslo. Is that
they've purchased the property? Yes.
Did they? Now is that district? That's district, right?
It's Oslo 58th. It's out near my house.
But that's our school district, and that's going to be in another classical school.
Vero Classical is a private school. The owners of the local Chick-fil-A here, I can't think of their names at the moment. They are the ones doing it. They have it all the way up through 5th grade. They're going to go to 6th grade by 2028. Jennifer, am I saying this right? They want to have a full high school.
Correct.
Ultimately, they're going to build out a K-12 that'll have 1,150 students.
Yeah, pending finances and grants. And if we continue to decrease enrollment, it probably won't happen. They literally said they're going to start shutting down schools or combining schools. But if they can increase, people coming to that, then they will build that, the high school. What's interesting about that article too is nothing in there from Ray McNulty mentions Jackie Rosario bringing classical schools to Indian River County, or Melissa Burdick bringing it up in public comment, advocating for it and saying, all this, positive, truthful information. So it was all put on Dr. Moore, but it was brought to the board, to the school district by Jacqueline Rosario. So I would respond to Vero News and tell them that, but since I'm blocked, I can't, but I'm happy to say it on the board.
Yeah. I was on the fence with with those 4 schools going with the 6th grade, those 4 elementary schools. And, I'm a big proponent of Fellsmere Elementary. I'm kind of, my son decided he wants Sebastian because of the options and the sports and the friends, and I'm all for it. And the more I look at it and the more I hear about the decreased enrollment, I don't think these schools are ready for it. They don't have enough kids to actually provide a full set of courses. Like if my son stayed in Fellsmere, he's not going to get the same specials or sciences that he's going to get in Sebastian Middle School. So
is that true? I mean, it seems that there would be some standard of
there's the academic standard. So everybody's going to get the math, the social studies, the true history, and things like that. But it's like some schools are STEM schools. Some schools, they're going to do the Spanish speaking. Some are going to be classical. So they all have their different, specialties and things that they do on top of the core classes that are required by statute.
Do the middle schools right now, I don't know this, so I'm just asking you, Jen. So do the middle schools, for example, is any one of them say a STEM?
So I believe that it's just elementary schools now that are STEM.
Okay.
But different middle schools offer different programs and, clubs. And, obviously if you're going for sports scholarships and things like that, Vero Beach High School, with like football and things like that.
Yeah, the feeder system.
And I mean, it's obvious to me now that, obviously middle school with, I don't know how many kids are in the 6th grade at Sebastian Middle School. Let's say 500. They're obviously going to have more resources and more options to give these 500 kids than the 50 kids that might stay back at Fellsmere for 6th grade. I just don't see that variety, there. I commend them.
The kids will be able to go over to and do the extracurriculars at the main middle school if they show inclined to do that.
Right. I commend them for giving it a go at it. I think they need to work on their enrollment levels more. I think it would be a great program for maybe some special needs students. Possibly it would help alleviate some pressure at Webasso, who we heard Laura Zork talk about the underfunding and the kind of redheaded stuff.
Funding,
yeah. For so maybe that would help with. But either way, I don't think they should focus on 6th grade classes unless they're going to be able to maintain a sizable class. The students need more than just the same 50 kids, I believe. But
it should be interesting because you're right. A lot of this depends on enrollment increasing. So the experiment is being put in place. The vision's being put in place. We're seeing the front side of the vision, and there's going to be that lag between filling the seats again, because now that you've expanded 6th grade down into Fellsmere and some of the kids are going to the middle school feeder, whatever, Sebastian River Middle, or wherever else they may go after elementary school. You're right. This is important. And here's the crazy thing. I think it's still, they expect to shrink again. So the state gave them 13,860 in the fall. The forecast is 13,382 for the spring. That number has been delayed because there's some issues going on right now in terms of the accounting for the scholarships. That is another whole side issue. But you're right, and it comes back to this whole thing about ranking versus grades. Mm-hmm. Look, our school system is ranked high because we've maintained grades that we had when we were ranked 30th.
Well, all the other ones.
The state has come down. Mm-hmm. Brevard is an A school district, and you guys talked earlier about the issues in Brevard. You go over there and you're like, where are the A students? You know what I mean? Because I've seen some crazy stuff over there at the when you go to the school board meetings. It's nuts. But they're an A district, so the A's are average. So if we're a 64 this year, that's an A. 64 and above, I think it was. Next year it could be 66. After this year, it could go up, and so we have to have a 66 or higher. So it goes up as the boats rise. If we stay at 64 and it goes up to 66, we're out of the A district running. But it's still an average of all the counties,
right?
Yeah, and the algorithm and all that stuff. And it should be about grades. It shouldn't be about rank.
Absolutely.
It should be about grades, and it shouldn't be about this great curve of averages. It should be about, there's a performance metric, and go meet it. And that's what's really missing, I think, in government schools.
I agree. Well, guys, if John doesn't have anything else, I'll let you guys go on with your Friday night.
Right.
John, you got anything else?
No,
I appreciate you guys. I did want to shout out. I mentioned Laura Zork. Her and Karen Hiltz are doing something pretty cool, I think, for those interested in running for school board. They have a book together, and they're putting together a video series. Check them out. I think it's bestined.org.
Yes.
Yes. Make sure you put .org, because you'll end up on web pages you don't want. But check them out. Yeah, I wish I would have consulted them on the website address, but don't know them personally, but I know we did a show with them a week or two ago. I couldn't be here, but
great
doing a lot of research
They are
into
awesome.
their project. It is pretty cool, and you don't know who is going to run for office next, so it could be a sleeper out there. Do you want them trained? So they're doing good service by explaining a lot, because a lot of people are intimidated when it comes to serving on boards or Robert's rules and this and that, and it's like you don't know your role, or you don't know who works for who, and some of these elected officials obviously think they work for the superintendent, so it's the other way around, or the teachers at the same time. At the teachers level, there's a lot of conflict at the school level also. So anyways, it's my shout out for the night. Make sure you guys follow us on X and Rumble and Facebook and YouTube. Make sure you follow the Sunshine Journal at Substack, and Jennifer Pippin with Moms for Liberty Indian River. Make sure you follow the Facebook page there for updates. Anything else, guys?
No, Mike, other than that, you're a great parent. It's always good to hear your decision-making process with your kids about their future education. I think that's really important. And that's what's going to get our A students.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good deal.
All right. Thank you guys so much. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
You too. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks. All right.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
John, thanks for another great show, and we'll be back next week.
Yeah, we'll be back next week for sure, and every week, and then we'll also have some more podcasts coming out from the Connecting People and Places podcast.
Yeah.
We got a couple of in the pipeline will be coming up.
The next one coming out will be with Leslie Swan,
Nice.
our supervisor of elections. So
Cool.
we're working on putting that one together. We've already did the interview. Joanne did the interview, so hopefully it's out in the next day. Cross my fingers. All right, guys. Thank you again. Have a good night, and we'll see you next week.
Indian River Connections brings you the first source you can watch for truth on board decisions in Indian River County. The Board Report, where taxpayers and policymakers intersect. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite platform to get notified when we go live on Fridays at 7 p.m. Visit IndianRiverConnections.com for more. Sponsored by Gus Curran's House of Champions.